All right, guys. So it's me, Chef Kimberly Russell Esquire, joined by my partner and soulmate,
Chef Rob Esquire.
And so here's the thing, guys. I know that the Kim Blandino saga has been sweeping the nation this week, and our friends and colleagues whom we don't know, but we stalk on the interwebs, Attorney Mike, with Law Talk with Mike, and Natalie Lawyer Chick, and Artie's Corporate Fiction. Shout out to all of you guys, big fans, and definitely stalk you all around the interwebs. But Robert and I are law partners and soulmates, and we're here to discuss for you, and I'm going to introduce Robert to the Kim Blandino saga. We have the culmination of his trial on extortion and impersonating a public officer in Nevada. A lot of lawyers out here loving it. And so what we're doing today in our own sort of low-tech way, because we couldn't figure out how to use Twitch or Discord or any of these other streaming services. Listen, I'm old as shit.
Yet.
We will figure this out. So yeah, we're cobbling this together because we wanted to actually accomplish something. And so, Robert, what do you know about the Kim Blandino saga?
I know that he, I assume it's a he.
It is a he.
Is upset with a lot of judges and tries to get rid of all the judges in Nevada, and that's all I know.
Okay, so here's what we know about Kim Blandino. So Kim Blandino, you can't exactly characterize him as a sovereign citizen, which we're obsessed with, or I am, okay? I'm obsessed with them. I literally will just watch a lawyer reacting to a sovereign citizen video all day, all night. I don't know what it is about it. I love it. But he's not a sovereign citizen per se. What he is a guy who has in the past been incarcerated for kidnapping his own children and telling them their mother died of a spiritual cancer. So he has some familiarity with the legal justice system. However, in this case, what he has decided to do is he self-nominated, self-appointed as a voluntary investigator and journalist in charge of going to all the courtrooms in Nevada and just watching for any kind of judicial misconduct. Now, this man, several years ago, because this saga has been ongoing, 4 years, pre-pandemic, this has been going on 4 years. And Mr. Blandino will dress up in his suit. He famously wears a cravat. He brings a giant box of documents in. Even in our year of the Lord, 2019 or 2018 or 2016, whenever the heck this started, it was donkeys ages ago. And this man just like, you know, he has been characterized by his own defense counsel as tilting at windmills, as being a quixotic type of character, but he literally just goes from room to room and decides that he's going to take down notes about the various judges, and then he's going to make complaints to them. But first, he will basically threaten them with blackmail that if they don't settle with him, he's going to file a code of judicial conduct complaint. He's going to file a customer service complaint. He's going to file a 1983 civil rights lawsuit, whatever. So he managed to take a simple traffic infraction and turn it into a felony criminal trial.
Wow.
Okay. So a few years back, he was in the courtroom of Judge Pro Tem Michael Federico. Michael Federico is he's basically an attorney. He's normally an attorney. I think he does civil litigation, from what I understand. He also is basically a substitute teacher of judges and occasionally goes and does a traffic court call.
Okay.
Now, Robert, you are a criminal defense attorney. What do you know about traffic court calls?
It's a cattle call, and it needs to be quick because there's a ton of people there.
So when somebody has a trial for a traffic infraction, could you walk the viewers through a little bit of what normally happens when somebody has, let's say, they're driving with a suspended license, or they went 30 miles above the speed limit, or their registration was invalid or something like that? Just kind of walk us through what typically happens in a courtroom in that case.
So One, you'll check in. If you have an attorney, they'll check in for you, talk to the state, check to see if the police officer's there. If it's like a driving without license or driving without insurance, you show the state that you have that, get it dismissed, or you plead guilty, take a fine, pay it, or whatever. If you decide to go to trial, you set it for trial, and then the cop probably doesn't show up and it gets dismissed.
So everything you said there sounds reasonable. That is not what happened. So what had happened was Mr. Blandino shows up at court in Michael Federico's courtroom, and he decides that he wants to lead the trial in a certain way. He refuses to swear or affirm because he has some kind of a religion that he adheres to, which he doesn't ever tell us what that religion is. He told us at some point that he was born and raised Catholic and recovering Catholic here. I don't know of any reason why you can't swear or affirm and can't testify or whatever, but he decides that he has a way that he wants to conduct the trial.
Okay.
And he just starts, for lack of a better word, he just starts showing his ass.
So is this supposed to be a bench trial?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yes, it was a bench trial. It's not a jury trial. It was a bench trial, and the cop was there.
Okay, so it should have just been questions, some
Is,
presentation of evidence, and a verdict, right?
that is not what happened. So long story short, he basically ends up starting some shit with the judge, completely showing his ass in court, making a big stink. So the judge starts yelling at him. The judge might have called him an asshole, but guess what? He was being an asshole. And then he threatens him with, I believe it was 25 days criminal contempt, incarcerated. And this guy just keeps digging a bigger and bigger and bigger hole with himself. And eventually he gets escorted out of the courtroom. That is not the end of it. Oh no, that is not. Because this man has literally basically made a complaint against pretty much every seated judge in the entire state of Nevada. He's tried to disqualify literally every single judge. No matter what happens, he's got some kind of idea that there is such a thing as a volunteer judicial investigator, which is not a thing. He just goes around looking for fights, looking to start trouble, and then he just starts making complaints to literally anybody. So this escalated and escalated to the point he went to Mr. Federico's private law firm and started making demands. So he started leaving like letters basically saying, hey, I want you to sit down with me. I want an apology from you. I want $25 because I had to pay to get the transcript. Well, he didn't get the transcript. He got a video copy of what happened in court that day. I want $25 for this, and I want $500 that you donate to the law library at the courthouse. I don't know. That was just, I don't know. Listen, it's Kim Blandino. It's not like this man is making some sense. And then he sends a letter to all the partners of Mr. Federico's law firm. Okay. And then he just starts coming around and just like popping in when Mr. Federico is on the bench, or Judge Federico at that point. When Judge Federico was on the bench, he just pops in and starts demanding to be heard and just like causing a ruckus. So at one point, Michael Federico actually filed for an order of protection against him.
Wow.
It was hilarious. I actually watched the video where basically the judge kind of made an ultimatum, like, if you can keep away from Mr. Federico for the next 30 days, we will dismiss this order of protection. So when they came to court, Mr. Federico said, he hasn't bothered me. The judge was like, cool, I'm going to dismiss this. And for some reason, Kim Blandino lost his mind. Even though the judge was literally about to tell it. I don't know what was going on, but it doesn't matter what happens. This guy has got an opinion about it. He's going to tell you about it. And it's related to religion. He's demanding apologies. He thinks he can just appoint himself to non-existent roles. And so this all finally boils down to, he is now on trial. For the last week, he has been on trial for extortion and for impersonating a public officer.
Oh, shit.
Now, the gag is that he was pro se this whole time until he started going, so for lack of a better word, batshit cuckoo bananas, that they honestly were like, listen, this man is not qualified to represent himself. So he was ordered to do an evaluation. He got his evaluation. He got in trouble as part of the evaluation because he initially wouldn't show up for it and he was causing all kinds of problems. And eventually they appointed an attorney to represent him, this poor man. And you're going to see this guy in action. I want you to have your honest opinion in how he did. I have my own opinions. I know people are giving him some slack. No, I'm not forgiving, but I know he was, listen, he was in a rock and a hard place. This is not a public defender. I don't know how they do in Nevada, but I do know that they can appoint your ass and then you're stuck.
Yeah.
So when you're watching this, Robert, I want you to understand this saga has been going on for years, several years. This is pre-pandemic. Started as a traffic ticket. It's now a felony extortion case, y'all, which to me is cuckoo. It's totally cuckoo. So basically, this is a little bit of a roundup of what's going on right before the verdict. So we're seeing a little bit, what you're seeing right there, that's the prosecutor doing his closing arguments. And please tell me to stop anytime you want to make a comment. But we're going to get a little bit of a flavor of what was going on here, and we're going to see what happens now. Please watch carefully during the close because there's some unusual stuff that happens here.
There's not just one avenue of extortion here. It begins with Mr. Blandino. It begins right there in the note that he wrote. On April 8th, 2019, I am ready to begin filing my complaints against you, indicating that it's for his courtroom activities, including violations of the code. He indicates that he's required by his religious beliefs and practices to give him an opportunity to negotiate a settlement. Please let me know within the next 10 days, indicating how serious he is because he's been effective. He's been effective because his last 2 letters have resulted in letters of caution. So please don't take this matter lightly.
So what do you, okay, all right. So listen, our Nevada judges actually does live streams of these things. And so occasionally they will introduce a noise blocking device, like a white noise thing, and then they put this music on. Or when they're waiting, when this was originally a live stream, and when they're waiting, they will have this fancy music.
Okay.
So this is the prosecutor, and he's doing his close. How do you think he's doing so far?
I mean, it sounds like there's a controversy that needs to be settled, and it sounds like this man is up to some weird shit. Like, where did he get this? You have to respond within 10 days. Like, is that like statutory somewhere? Or
No,
he just like decided that you have a 10-day deadline.
Yeah, he just decided under his own auspices. He self-appointed himself a voluntary. He said, "I'm a volunteer investigator." He never says self-appointed, but he keeps holding himself out as if he is an investigator for the judicial code of conduct or something, the judicial disciplinary conduct.
Okay.
And he's like, the guy, it's a public right for me to be in a courtroom, so I should get to be in a courtroom whenever I want. Even though you're not, this right is circumscribed by you're not allowed to cause a disruption.
Right.
You can be held in contempt. There's a reason why judges have contempt powers, and he does not agree that the judge should have contempt power, and he thinks that whatever he says goes.
Okay, Judge.
This prosecutor is like so very serious. He's taking himself super seriously here.
Hey, I just want to sit down and I want an apology, Mr. Federico. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say, hey, I'm going to file a complaint against you regardless, but I'd love an apology. It doesn't say that. What it says is I'm going to file a complaint or we can negotiate. Extortion begins there. Then, when he doesn't hear anything from Mr. Federico, he goes to the Regional Justice Center. He told you that he was all around that day. He was all around. Yet somehow he walks into the courtroom, still carrying his tray of stuff with his shoes untied from walking through security. And he told you that before he ever got into that courtroom, he looked right into it. He could see Mr. Federico right there on the bench. Okay. Now he goes in, he sits down, he gets kicked out. Mr. Federico, in no unclear terms, in his capacity as a judge in that moment.
Man ain't got no shoes on, but he's about to go and show this judge what's up. He has not got his shoes on. But again, remember I told you he always has this, he is always, this man is, okay, I want to, now, many of you have been watching this for many, many months, many years, and you've been seeing the other reaction videos. This is the first time Robert's seeing some of this stuff. But earlier in the week, because this man cannot be controlled, he was not actually properly direct examined by his counsel. He refused. So he was allowed to just narrate from the bench. Later on, because he just could not stay on topic, he got redirected after he'd already been crossed. But he was narrating, and he literally expected the judge to sit there while he played the entire video and just said, "Can you stop that there? Okay, so what you got to know is my religion requires me to always turn the other cheek." And the judge is like, "How is this relevant?" And he's like, "Well, go forward in the video, judge." And the judge is like, no, why weren't you prepared?" So what I don't understand is how Mr. Blandino has this huge tray of every single grievance, every single thing he's ever filed. And he just files any old kind of stuff. He just like writes some stuff on a paper and he like, "It's an affidavit of blah, blah, blue." And it's like, ain't nobody know what that shit is. What are you even talking about, bro? But no, he's just got hella papers that ain't nobody know what they are. And he carries them around in no particular order. And he just running around with his big old plastic box of stuff and his shoes up there. And he's like, "I'm an independent investigator. Let me investigate these judges. And I've got a cravat." Listen, if you got a cravat, though, everybody knows you got to do exactly what the man says, right?
Hey.
Cravat equals volunteer, judicial, disciplinary, investigator, and journalist.
All right.
Says, "You need to leave because you came to my private law office. Don't stop me." Defense and the defendant.
It's about to go down. It's about to go down, Robert. Watch carefully. Watch carefully.
"Just don't come back. I don't want to talk to you. That's it. Nothing like that." Then that would have been it. There are no clear terms. Get out of the courtroom. Don't stalk people. But what does Mr. Blandino do? Well, now he's getting the reaction he wants. Now, Mr. Blandino is having fun.
It's handwritten. It's handwritten. Like if he had literally like cut pictures out of like newspapers and put like a ransom note, it would be very similar. He literally is handwriting these things and showing up at people's offices and thinking that that's okay and that this is his job and he carries this immense burden with him. He alone can fix it. Kim Blandino of Google Law School, Esquire, he alone can fix it. He is the onlyest one out here who knows what these judges are doing. He's going to make sure y'all know about it too.
Hey. Sometimes the conspiracy is real.
And if you aren't having fun, you aren't doing it right. So now Mr. Blandino knows he's on the right path. The path that he has set forth upon to see what he can get out of Mr. Federico. So he goes, he files a customer feedback complaint for whatever that.
I mean, that was correct. Like, what the fuck?
And takes that and attaches it to a letter that he went home immediately and typed. April 25th, 2019, this letter.
He can type, y'all.
This is the letter that, once again,
What does this say?
to Michael Federico, in his official capacity as a judge pro tempore, as we discussed. The subject line itself indicates what's occurring here. The subject line itself indicates, I mean, it might as well say subject, extortion. Desire not to have to file formal complaint with Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline. That's not how this works.
No, it is not.
Judge is doing something unethical, they should just be reported.
Right.
It should be reported. Anybody that's doing something unethical should just be reported.
Thank you.
You, or Mr. Blandino, I should say, as a private citizen, anybody in this country doesn't have a right to dangle something over someone's head to say, you are unethical, now I own you? You committed a crime? Now you have to do what I say? That is extortion. That is the purpose of this crime. And in this particular letter, Mr. Blandino discusses thoroughly
So thoroughly.
what he initially started talking about. In addition to identifying himself as a volunteer investigator for the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline,
What even is that?
not
Not a thing.
helping the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline, he is
I'm helping.
the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline.
They couldn't do it alone.
I came to
Didn't
your
have enough for
offices
that.
to see if we could resolve the complaint without having to use scarce judicial and Nevada.
Can I just point out, the person who is using the scarce resources of Nevada is Kim Dennis Blandino. Yes, I know your middle name is Dennis, bitch. I watched a lot of videos. But first of all, had he just taken his goddamn ticket and none of this happened, he has been in front of literally almost every judge in the state of Nevada and tried to disqualify all of them because according to him, none of them are qualified to do what they're supposed to do because they've been mean to him or they didn't do what he said or they didn't like the cut of their jib or they didn't wear the right cravat, who knows? But if his goal is to ensure that the scarce judicial resources of the Nevada legal system are being properly used, Robert, can you please tell me, is that what he's doing right now?
No, this sounds wasteful and probably vexatious if he was suing people.
Oh, vexatious. I'm glad you said that because he literally has been accused of being a vexatious litigant. Okay. I mean, if you literally looked into the dictionary, Black's Law Dictionary for sovereign citizens, and you wanted to see what is a vexatious litigant, Kim Blandino would be numero uno.
Commission on Judicial Discipline Resources. He indicates that he's done so with other misbehaving judges.
Literally all of
And then
them.
he goes on. So
In the 8th Judicial District,
Nevada
every
Commission
single
on
one.
Judicial Discipline subject the complaint to their protocols. I once again reach out to you to resolve this matter between you and I, or your attorney and I, if you wish to have an intermediary. You remember that whole argument defense counsel had about all Mr. Blandino wanting to do was to sit down with Mr. Federico? April 25th, 2019, he's telling Mr. Federico he doesn't even have to deal with him directly. He can have an intermediary. That's this whole sit down thing. It's not even a real thing. Because you take a look at Mr. Blandino's words, he didn't care.
He did not
He wants to see
care.
what he can get.
Zero
Mr.
fucks
Federico.
given.
Whether it's Mr.
Zero.
Federico dealing with him directly or Mr. Federico's intermediary. And then no, and I am
It's the
very
stupidest
serious
thing I've ever
about
seen.
following through to the best of strength that
Oh.
God gives me to do so.
Oh, yes, God told him to do this.
Like, who has the energy and the
Communication.
time?
Kim Dennis
The
Blandino.
sacrifice that I spend in time, inconvenience, and discomfort is very small compared to what they suffered to establish freedom and liberty based upon the very principles that God and His Son Jesus would wish for all on this planet.
Yeah, you know what? Jesus wasn't born before Nevada became a state, so,
The
okay.
sacrifice that I spend in time, inconvenience, and discomfort,
Nobody asked you to sacrifice. Kim, ain't nobody asked you to do this, okay? Literally no one.
I mean, definitely putting himself out to be a martyr. But
I took my shoes off before I came into court.
I would just say this.
doing it because he's having
This
fun.
closing argument is wild.
Isn't it not?
Already.
I mean,
It's
just
wild.
the bare recitation of facts.
Cause like, I mean, like I get it. I get what's happening here. But this just seems kind of, I don't know, I hate to say unprofessional, but it feels kind of unprofessional for the state to do it this way. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
No, you're not wrong. I mean,
because like, I feel like, one, let's be clear here. I don't know what the elements of this crime are yet. And he's been talking for like 10 minutes.
right. So this is actually the rebuttal.
Oh, okay.
So his colleague was a very fine attorney. I thought she did a great job. She actually came out and explained all the elements of extortion and
Okay.
So she did the boring part, but she did it. Lady knew her stuff.
Okay.
Very solid work. She did everything, did all the boring stuff like you're supposed to do, laid out all the elements,
Okay.
said here's how he fulfilled them. So basically, Kim Blandino, the closing argument that was provided by the appointed defense counsel,
Mhm.
his whole theory is this guy's Don Quixote. He's quixotic. He's tilting at windmills. He didn't know he was doing nothing wrong. Yo, he's just trying to help. He's just a goofball. He's just a numpty, a muppet, if you will. Somebody who just goes out here just tilting at windmills. He doesn't know what's happening.
So that was the argument.
Yeah, it
That
wasn't
the
great.
state didn't satisfy the element.
Here's the thing. I was not impressed. First of all, I understand that the dude didn't want to be there because the guy who was doing the close for Blandino was appointed. He begged, he almost cried in front of the judge. No, I'm not kidding. He literally was like, please God, judge, don't make me do it. Oh God, why? But he had to do it. He did the best that he could. And I think that I would not have, okay, yes. And yes, this is the woman who invoked Liam Neeson the last time I was doing a closing argument. Did we
But it
win?
was good.
We won though. Did we win? Yes, we did. But I wasn't actually comparing the defendant to Liam Neeson. I was invoking Liam Neeson to state how the cop was not Liam Neeson, even though they had characterized him as such.
The state's arguments and
So dumb, so stupid. They had nothing. We won. It was great. But the point that I'm making here is I would not have used the Don Quixote approach because Don Quixote was batshit crazy and we all knew. Like the whole point of that is that there were no dragons. He wasn't a knight. He was nuts. And it's just a sad story about a crazy guy like trying to, fight dragons.
Okay, but like based on the little bit that I know, let me think about how I would try to close this.
Okay.
Okay. So extortion. Because he was asking for money himself.
$25 for himself to reimburse the money that he spent to get the videos, and then $500 for the law library.
Okay.
And remember, he sent the letter to all the partners at Mr. Federico's firm. And he complained to the court in a customer service form, and he might have filed some other documents as well, I'm not sure.
But he didn't go to the commission.
Not sure. Possibly he did that too. They did put on the stand somebody who actually worked for the commission, who said that all of the investigators are actually contractors that they appoint, that they hire for a specific purpose, but they don't have any kind of volunteers. This man never was a volunteer. He
Right.
just self-nominated and decided he could just say that.
And here's the thing. I'm gonna be real with you. I don't have a problem with him deciding that he's gonna investigate the judges. We should all be doing that. But the thing is, how do you defend this when you literally sent this person a letter asking for money? And I'm just trying to figure out, because I mean, I've said some things that are kind of wild in court, because you have to make the arguments. And I'm struggling. And I'm pretty good on my feet, but like I'm trying to figure out how the hell I argue against this. And I guess maybe I wouldn't have used Don Quixote, but I probably would have done something similar and been like, look, guys, this man was not asking for money for his own personal gain or anything like that. He really did think that he was out on a mission to clarify and protect the judicial system. If he was looking for a payday, he definitely would have asked for more money. What he didn't want to do was for this judge to lose his job. What he wanted was for this judge, and I guess every other judge, to do better and to treat him with respect. And I think that that's kind of like an argument that you can sell, because that's like an argument in his favor. Not to paint him as a crazy person who should be laughed at and ignored. And I get it, like the appointed attorney, I don't know anything about this person. I'm not trying to make fun of him or anything like that. But like the Don Quixote thing, like Don Quixote, if you know anything about it, he was absurd. And like, you don't want to go out there, even if it's a client you don't want or like, you don't want to make them seem absurd. You want all of their actions to seem reasonable.
And he never did that. And part of the problem,
I mean, do you feel
I feel we're on the same page,
Okay.
100%, because what my problem with the guy is that I literally couldn't understand anything he was saying, because he swallows every one of his words, and he has such a weird kind of, like, you see how the prosecutor here is very like clear, the cadence is right. This guy's like, so Don Quixote, and he didn't, and then, but he didn't hurt, and that's how I felt the whole thing was. And I was like, this guy is just literally waiting for the floor to swallow him up. I can't understand anything he's saying, and he was terrible on cross. Like, I don't think either one of them did a good job on cross. Because I still feel like a lot of people don't understand how to control a witness, how to ask a closed question that's only yes or no. And you should not give any opportunity for somebody who's adversarial to you to start getting up there narrating all kinds of crap. And he just can't, this mofo he was objecting from the bench. He's making his own objections. He's just going ham. It was nuts. So yes, I get that the defense attorney did not want to be there and had a crappy client and he did not have much to work with, but I didn't think he did a particularly great job. And I'm sorry that people are standing this guy. I was not particularly impressed. But let's see.
Hold on one second.
Yeah.
I think that like I'm looking at the state's attorney or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Prosecutor.
Yeah.
Like that. So like I'm looking at the prosecutor and I'm looking at like his bearing and the way that he's standing and things like that. And I'm thinking about, like, if I was going up against this person is exuding this confidence and like, he knows he's doing God's work.
Yeah.
And so to go against that, I feel like I will go in, now, you know me, I'm a firebrand. But in that kind of situation, I'm not going up against him because he's doing that wrong.
Right,
so I'm
exactly.
Go in, and I'm looking for some sympathy, some understanding, like empathy. Like, I just want people to understand that this man is on a quest.
Yeah.
He's like trying to make sure that everything works for us. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I'm like trying to impress upon you that this is a serious matter, that you need to recognize what he really wanted to do. Yes, he may have gone about it a way that we wouldn't have done, but it wasn't wholly unreasonable.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, have some humility.
Yeah.
But also just like go in, but like showing that you care and that your client cares. Like, go to people's hearts, their minds, and just touch them. Not physically, but
right.
with your words.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I probably would have walked over to the jury and been more conversational about it and just like made it like, I would have been using a whole bunch of legalese and things like that. I definitely would have been speaking like a person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's just like, I don't know, like so many of these people need to like work on their communication. Like, I don't like the way that the prosecutor is going about this, it's just haughty.
Well,
It's not even confident, it's haughty.
that's a great
And I don't like
point.
that.
That's a great point because he came in real hot with
Mhm.
Blandino, and I felt like that was the wrong approach because I hate to say it, but in certain instances, he's kind of charming. Like he's just sort of affable and avuncular.
Yeah.
I mean, he's cuckoo, but he's sort of cuckoo in that like your uncle at Thanksgiving way,
Yeah.
who's like, yeah, we're shooting the shit about the Kansas City Chiefs. And then suddenly he tells you about his anti-vax tendencies. And then you're going down the rabbit hole. And the next thing you know, Rothschilds,
And the Earth is
lizard people, and they're eating babies.
Yes.
Okay. But both can be true. He can be a nice guy, and he can also be objectively terrible because he did abduct his children,
flat. Yeah.
and he did tell them that their mom was dead.
Yeah.
There have been some issues with him. He has been incarcerated, so he's been through this process. But I think that the problem that I had with the prosecutor is that he came in so hot, and I really feel like the way that he was just badgering him on the stand
Mhm.
did not help.
Yeah.
I think he should have gone in just very cut and dried. Like,
Yeah.
isn't it in fact true that when you went into that courtroom, you did not have a court case that day? And stop.
Right.
And if he didn't answer, then make the objection that he's being argumentative, that he's being non-responsive.
Yeah.
You
And
know?
I think that part of it is, and I say this all the time, the people out here on the channel don't know this, but you do. So often I feel like prosecutors, state's attorneys, DAs, whatever you want, ASAs, all of them. I think they forget that when they represent the people, it's also the person they're prosecuting.
Mhm.
So like, this wasn't like a crime of like violence or something like that. Like this dude was like annoying some judges and like allegedly extorting somebody. Okay, why is this so like aggressive?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
He was
Like,
so aggro.
Where's the like, you could approach this with some compassion.
Yeah,
That might win you points with the jury.
I think it
But
would
you
have.
might lose points with the jury going and hammering this dude like this because it's just like,
Right.
well, I mean, yeah, he's kind of annoying, but why all of this?
That was I was concerned. See, spoiler alert, I know what the verdict is. But prior to this, my concern was that he was going so hard on him that it was going to cause sympathy in the jury. Like, man, it's not that big a deal. Yeah, he's real annoying and he showed up at your job and all, but dial it back a little bit, bro.
Because
Like,
watching this, having not seen anything else, but this closing is just, I don't know, like, and I don't know.
let's keep.
And then it goes further. In that April 25th, 2019 letter, it wasn't just about this alleged.
Sorry, I gotta stop. Stop. It's not supposed to be like this.
No, I'm
He's
asking-
on me.
Stop.
He's trying to help me.
Stop. No, I'm asking, can you invite Mr. Dickerson, non-approach to the table? I'm sorry. Okay, if he can, stay.
He's trying to talk to me, Judge.
Okay, Robert, when you do a closing argument, what are you allowed to do in the courtroom?
Walk around?
Yeah, are you allowed to actually walk right in front of the defendant and point at them and look at them and draw attention to them
Yeah.
the whole time?
I mean, I feel like you can.
Well, you can. You literally can. So, Mr. Blandino,
That's a trick question somehow.
Mr. Kim Dennis Blandino, this man has decided. So, and what you're briefly going to see is that the jury ends up being dismissed because he refuses to shut up.
Oh.
So it gets worse because he demands that Mr. Dickerson, the prosecutor, stop walking near him and say, he's trying to taunt me. He's trying to get me to do things. He's trying to get me to act this way. Have you ever in your life, in all of the trials you've done and all of the court stuff that you've done, have you ever seen a defendant just start screaming at the prosecutor while they're doing their close?
No.
Right. So
Never.
keep watching.
Purposely, he knows he's trying to talk to me. So this is impromptu, and I'm making a bar complaint against you. I'm making a bar complaint against you, Mr. Dickerson. I will get these jabs.
Can I just point out the thing that he is literally on trial for? threatens to do to the prosecutor. He threatened to do it to the prosecutor.
Oh, sir.
He's literally on trial for this, and he's doing it in front of the jury. I mean, what the first time I saw this, my jaw. If I tell you that it was on the floor, like Scooby-Doo, and my tongue rolled out like all the way across the floor.
This is fascinating.
Isn't it? You see why I'm
This is
obsessed?
fascinating.
You see why I'm obsessed with this case? Because it doesn't matter what you do, this mofo is going to wiggle out of it or figure out some way to squeeze more juice out of whatever is going on. Like this man, I mean,
I feel bad for his attorney.
I do feel bad. I do. I mean, honestly, even though I don't feel like he did a great job. And that's just because I'm hardcore and a bitch Callie trial ad, okay? And I'm never gonna let y'all forget that. All right. I mean, they're kind of epic. Listen, they are epic. And that the time that we did that they lost it in rebuttal because they got real angry. So angry. That was great. But this just gets better.
Scott, and I will make those art complaint against you.
Mr. Blandino, stop.
If I would have done this, you would have told me immediately not to do that.
Completely.
Yeah, because the defendant is allowed to walk
You
around.
to come here multiple times, and you know that, Judge.
He's in
You're
the
You're allowed to
well.
just walk
He's
around,
permitted to
dude.
walk around the
You
well.
would not let me do that if I were
That's right.
representing myself.
You're
I would
not.
go over to the prosecutor.
Sorry. Look, I was just asking, you
Okay,
can be,
we're gonna
if he
take a
doesn't,
recess during this recess.
They had to send the jury out.
Yeah.
They had to send the jury out.
That
I can't believe that this man is so delusional that in the middle of the rebuttal argument, he's gonna go and show his ass and then threaten to do the thing he's literally on trial for in front of the people who are judging him.
Lash out and scream.
I mean, what timeline are we living in? It is multiverse of
I told my
madness.
attorney 3 times that he cannot do that.
I will raise it with the court,
He did not,
okay?
and I had
He's
to
in
raise
the
it.
well. He can walk around in the well if he wants to.
Yeah.
When I
Okay,
had
I'm
my
not
stuff,
sure
when I
why.
had my asylum in the 1990s, I tried to walk around and
Is the judge
just.
still in the room while he's doing this?
No,
Oh, so they are gone.
they have taken the jury
Okay.
out and he just continues to yell at and so like, this is the thing. It's like, in what universe would a defendant be able to walk around the room and just jabber away?
I mean, only if you're doing the closing yourself.
Right, right.
You have an attorney to do the closing. So
Exactly.
You sit there quietly.
So for him to say, Judge, you wouldn't allow me to do it, fuck right I wouldn't, because that's not your job, bitch. You ain't a lawyer. You are on trial. Y'all don't get to walk around and just be doing whatever. But guess what? He did that shit. Like literally during, I do believe it was either during the prosecution's initial close.
Mhm.
He just got up at one point and started messing around with his box of documents. I'm like, bitch, what are you looking for? I mean, the trial is almost over. Like, what do you think you're gonna produce now? But those documents right here. What case closed? You know. What are you doing? And earlier when he wasn't wearing his, like, they literally had to make him change clothes because motherfucker showed up wearing a red Trump and God or something like this t-shirt. It was definitely there, like Trump for life or something. So we definitely, I mean, this is not shocking that he's a MAGA person, but the fact that he just showed up, you know, at his well, that was actually during one of the earlier days. This trial been going on for like a week. Talk about misuse of judicial
Judge Moffitt
resources.
and Judge Moffitt, he said, you can't walk around, you gotta stand at the table. And you wouldn't have, if I were representing myself, you would not allow me to go over to the prosecution.
Yeah, I would. I
I know that
totally
for a
would,
fact.
because
You're
you're not representing
arguing
yourself
about
though, because you're not
You'd say
capable.
that's true. You know that's true.
Shouting at me.
I'm sorry. I'm a little bit heated, I
No, you're
apologize.
completely and totally out of control. It's not
No.
heated.
I don't know why she
It
didn't
is
hold him in contempt right then and
completely
there.
and totally out of
I mean,
control.
he disrupted a closing argument. Like, how is
I'd
that
like
not
to bring the jury
contemptible?
back in,
was
so
trying to
Mr.
get this shit
Dickerson
done.
can
Mhm.
conclude his closing.
Facts,
Can you
facts.
control yourself? Because if not, I'll just remove you from the court.
I'm sorry, I apologize, but he can agree not to come over here.
No, he doesn't have to agree with you about
You said
anything.
it just a minute ago.
He doesn't have to agree with you about anything. If you can't control yourself, you will be taken out of the courtroom
Okay, I
so that the
apologize.
prosecutor can conclude
I
with his
apologize.
closing.
I apologize.
Can
I'm
you
sorry.
control
Thank you,
yourself?
Judge.
Okay.
You know, if I just may, he's saying that I wouldn't make an objection. The third time he came over, he said, you know, I don't know what he did, he was turning or whatever to Mr. Dickerson, asked me, said, you asked
Can
him
you
not to
understand
come
anything this
over
man
here.
is
I was
saying? I can't understand
going
anything
to
he
object
says.
to ask Your Honor to have him not approach the
Enunciate.
defense table because he can't seem to control himself.
Elocution.
He's turning.
Don't swallow
So,
your words.
I was not, and then he just started doing it. So I was intending to ask Your Honor if he could not approach.
No, okay, they're about to do the verdict.
Okay.
So now get ready, because even during the verdict, he does not keep it together. Does not keep it together. What do you, okay, now you've seen very little, but based on just how you've seen this man perform and what you've heard about him, what do you think the verdict's gonna come down to? 2 counts, extortion and impersonating a public officer.
I think the extortion one is gonna be guilty. The impersonating a public officer, I don't know, like, just based on the things that I heard, I don't know that I would vote for like a conviction on that, but maybe. I mean, because just like he's just said he volunteered to investigate the judges. People do that. And he said he was a journalist.
Yeah, he's not.
But the thing is, if you say I'm an investigative journalist,
See, I would have,
that's not.
that's a good point, because he talks about being a journalist. If we had some proof that he was a member of the press and he
But
was trying
even
to,
the letter that he wrote, from what the prosecutor said, he used those titles together.
he did.
So to me, maybe, but also I don't know. Like I have no idea. Juries are so bizarre to me sometimes.
It's a fact. And again, he just showed his ass
And
during
I
the
think they're gonna
rebuttal.
hold that against him.
And he
Um,
definitely, if you had seen, I mean, you cannot get a straight answer out of this man.
Of course not.
Because
Like,
like,
do you even know what's going on?
no, because honestly, I don't believe that he thinks he did anything wrong, clearly.
Yeah.
He doesn't understand that you can't just appoint yourself a volunteer judicial investigator and then hold people to account because you want to. And regardless of whether there is a right to watch courtrooms, which there absolutely is.
Yeah.
Although
You don't
that
have a right to interrupt.
you don't have a right to interrupt, but that right can be tempered based on pandemic, because when the pandemic hit, that was not allowed. So they put everything on the video. So like, you don't have a right to come into my courtroom, but you can watch my video, because like Nevada has a video. Even in Illinois, we had that, like the live stream, so that you still had public viewing. You do not have the right to come in and act any old kind of way, any old kind of time, and just disrupt judicial proceedings because you feel aggrieved.
I mean, that's absolutely true. Let's see what the hell these people say. Just music.
I know, right? I'm just like,
I kind of want this music next time we need a verdict.
it's only that one loop over and
Is
over.
this a different day?
It's the same day.
Oh, okay.
It's the same day.
Because it looked like the defense attorney had on a gray jacket in the other video.
Oh, you're possibly right. You're possibly right. Yeah, because he just rolled up like he's about to go on a boat. Like, you know what? I don't feel good about like the coat and the pants ain't matching. Like, you could tell how much he gave a shit about this case. He's like, I ain't even gonna bother putting on actual pants today. It's not worth it. I do want to point out at one point, Kim Blandino purposely spilled water on himself during the rebuttal, just so he would have an opportunity to sit up. Like he literally took his cup, went like this, spilled it on himself, and was like, oh no, I just spilled the water. That was during the rebuttal. Oh my God. Get ready for the show. See, this lady right here, she's the one that did the close. Great job, good job. Very clear, well made. Yeah, right?
Please come to order. Order is now in session.
Let's stipulate the presence of the jury panel
We do.
and the defense.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Please be seated.
Mr. Romero, have you been selected to be foreperson?
Yes, Your Honor.
Has the jury reached a verdict?
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't understand when this picture was taken, 1997, because she don't look like that anymore. She looks like this woman does not look like this picture. So talk about catfishing. Girl, if you use that picture on your dating profile, it's gonna be sad.
If the defendant and his attorney, please stand for reading of the verdict.
District Court, Clark County, Nevada, State of Nevada, plaintiff versus Kim Dennis Blandino, defendant, case number C341767, department number 12, verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant, Kim Dennis Blandino, as follows. Count 1, extortion, guilty of extortion. Count 2, impersonation of an officer, guilty of impersonation of an officer. Dated this 9th day
Yep,
of March
so, I mean,
2022.
Pretty much what we
Signed by
expect.
foreperson Anthony Romero.
But watch
Ladies
what
and
he
gentlemen of
does.
the jury, is this your verdict is read, so say you one, so say you all?
Okay, does either side wish to have the jury panel poll? Mr. Dickerson?
Okay, can you describe what polling the jury is about for people who don't know?
Asking how they voted
Yep.
to make sure it was unanimous.
Yeah, it's interesting because the judge here actually offers to let the attorneys go back and talk to the jury. Not every judge does that. We didn't get that. We don't get that opportunity. Nobody offers that in Illinois, as far as I know. We've never been given that option. We weren't even given an opportunity to poll the freaking jury.
No, but we didn't give a shit anyway.
Yeah, we won, so I guess it didn't matter. It was an acquittal, so I didn't care.
I don't normally do this, but yes, Judge, I'll ask you.
Absolutely. At this
I
time,
don't usually do this. Yeah.
Question, and I just have to respond yes or no.
Juror number 1, is this your verdict is read?
Yes.
Juror number 2, is this your verdict is read?
Yes.
Juror number 3, is this your verdict is read?
Yes.
Juror number 4, is this your verdict is read?
Yes.
Juror number 5, is this your verdict is read?
Yes.
I'm sorry, it's going to be Miss Susan, or I don't want to say.
Oh, you're not supposed to be saying
Thank
people's
you.
names. What's
Juror
going
number
on?
6, William Luke.
What are you
Excuse me.
doing?
Is this your verdict is read?
Yeah.
Juror number
That's not
7,
right.
is this your verdict is read?
Yes.
Juror number 8, is this your verdict is read?
Yes.
Juror number 9, is this your verdict is read?
Yes.
Juror number 10, is this your verdict is read?
Yes.
Juror number 11, is this your verdict is read? Juror number 12, is this your verdict is read?
Yes. Okay, at this time, the clerk will record the verdict in the official record of the court.
He ain't done though.
Ladies and gentlemen.
He ain't done. He ain't done.
I am going to discharge you from your duty as jurors. You are no longer under the admonition not to.
What is
discuss
going on
the
with this
case
picture?
anyone.
When did this woman here ever look like this lady
However,
here?
you're under no
I
obligation
don't even see the
to
receipt.
say anyone.
I ain't trying to read her down. I'm just trying to figure out why she's 20 years older than her picture.
And then you will be excused to go.
Since 1997? Like, when does this woman sit down?
Opportunity to talk to the jury.
You know, it's possible that she looked like this before Kim Blandino showed up, and now she looks like that.
You think it's good for them to speak to a jury panel.
I'm sorry, I got filler
See what you guys
for Zoom
did
court.
elect
I got
to make
Botox
some
for Zoom
better
court.
trial attorneys. However.
My apologies, Judge. You're a fine judge.
Gratitude to you for your willingness to be here, especially we went a couple extra days than what I had told you, and I want to thank you very much. You were very.
These guys deserve a
courteous, you were
medal.
Very
I
professional.
know, right?
and
These guys
I
deserve a
really
medal for being on this
appreciate it.
jury.
So at this
Can you
time, ladies and
imagine?
gentlemen, you are discharged as jurors.
May you all rise for next jury. Jurors, if you'll please go with Ms. Alston.
But as soon as they let the jury out, Kim is on some bullshit again. Immediately. With a quickness. I've never seen the like of this before. Never seen the like of this before. I don't know if we'll ever see it again, frankly, unless it's some sovereign
Thank you,
citizen
everyone. Please
stuff.
be seated.
Oh, my God.
The record will reflect that the hearing is taking place outside the presence of the jury panel.
No, they don't have sentencing till July.
At this point in time, presumption of innocence is going. Mr. Blandino's been found guilty.
He's on electric monitoring right now, and so they're trying to get him, I think they want him to be held
The arrest that he remains today.
before sentencing.
And Your Honor, we would ask that you allow him to remain on his bail and allow him to on bail and his his ankle bracelet, electronic monitor. He is.
Yeah, I know, right? These pictures is old.
Here to Las Vegas. He is not a flight
He's fresh out of law school there.
for this
That's his law
program
school
to present,
Facebook.
in the courtroom here today. I think that he certainly needs an opportunity if he, waiting sentencing to be prepared and to have any affairs in order that would need to be in order for a sentencing date. But again, he is not a flight risk. He has been, I don't know that he has had any issues on being on electronic monitoring. I believe that he is on medium level, if Your Honor would feel.
Medium
more
level
comfortable,
risk.
Perhaps putting him on the high level, electronic monitoring.
Right?
And,
I mean,
that he would
I don't particularly think there's much of a risk. He shouldn't be getting held.
And like I said, he's not
I mean,
quite
I
as
frankly don't know why he's on
court.
electronic monitoring, because he never leaves Nevada. He's got too many judges to
And
harass.
so I don't know what else to say. He's not a flight risk. He's not going to send for. He has been and on the electronic monitoring.
But this is not what the judge
Not only
does.
that, he's not any.
Okay, here he goes.
Threat or danger to the community. He hasn't been for the 2.5 years he's been on.
If I may.
Yes, he wanted, I did forget, he did have the 2-week absence in December where he went, you allowed him to travel to his son's graduation and was off the ankle bracelet. No issues coming back, getting back on the electronic monitoring ankle bracelet. So I think all that demonstrates that he is an good candidate to remain on his electronic monitoring and will be here.
This is the problem with pre-sentencing incarceration or being held.
We have to disagree about him being in a position at this point. in time
No,
where he wants
Mr.
to come back to
Dickerson,
court.
I don't agree.
Him being in a position where he's still having fun. Mr. Blandino's no longer having fun. Mr. Blandino's no longer.
Yeah, and he's not having fun. So his whole argument here is that he was having fun until he got convicted and now he's not having fun. So he's going to be a threat. And I just don't see it. I don't see it. He doesn't seem like he was having fun because he was like, he was on a mission from God, like the Blues Brothers.
Before Lenny's crossing, for that matter, Your Honor, by this order, he refused to cooperate with that.
Well, I mean, what else they got? What else they got? I mean,
Have those evaluations done because.
yeah, they could have done that, but that's not what they did. I just feel like Dickerson is very good at making a losing argument. He's taking when he's got the facts and he just makes a losing argument. It's
Of
weird.
obstructing and harassing these proceedings, he never used feeling like he was no longer.
Start with that, bro.
He's been found guilty.
Don't make it out like he's freaking Godzilla. He ain't. He's old. He probably can't run that far.
We've seen his behavior here in court. We've seen his disrespect for the law.
Yeah, he's
Mr. Blandino does
disrespectful.
not
He's not
respect the letter of the
dangerous.
law
Is
at
he a
all.
danger
He
to
doesn't
the
respect
community?
orders.
He hasn't hurt anybody since that time he abducted his children.
That he's gonna go to.
So it's been a long
surveillance
time.
at the named victim's residence in this case. That is incredibly concerning to the state. I would also note that he is a convicted felon in that particular case, which is also of concern. He fled the state of Nevada with his children that he kidnapped, changed their names, told them that their mother had spiritual cancer and that she died. This is an individual.
Look, spiritual
who
cancer,
has
if you don't know,
issues. He needs to be
it eats you
remanded
up from the
and
inside.
And I think that the state.
And it means
of
that you're
Nevada is
effectively dead. So was he lying though?
also
No, she
in
was
some
dead
way
to
kind of
him.
requesting litigation
Dead to
for,
him.
evaluation
You know, the crazy
prior
thing
to
is when my
sentencing.
dad abducted us, he didn't even bother to change our names.
Him at the time.
And it wasn't nothing about a spiritual cancer.
If I may speak to
He just said he didn't
the,
want us to be raised by a bunch of wapdagos.
okay.
Oh, yeah, he did say that. Thanks, Dad.
As to the,
The
I would
more
stand
you
by
know.
counsel at that point, that was in competency court. Honestly, there was a
I do have something in common with Kim Blandino's
discrepancy and
children.
a misunderstanding as to whether the
And he's
appointment
about
had
my
been set
dad's age. He's
or
2 years
evaluation
younger than
had
my
been
dad.
done by the
He could be
committee.
my
So
dad.
Mr. Blandino is not well liked. He does not get the.
That is saying something. No, he ain't well liked, but that is no reason to keep him locked up. He can be annoying, he can be delusional, he can be fucking Don Quixote. Ain't no reason to lock him up.
The orders for his evaluation.
I don't really think they got one other than
Holidays.
he's crazy.
When that happened. So I don't think that
I would rest on the fact that he was.
what happened, that he was willfully
that
disobeying those orders to be.
And he is about to get, I mean, I think he's looking at a few years incarcerated for these.
And so as far as that is concerned, I don't think that should be counted against Mr. Blandino for disobeying the court. We heard testimony,
I mean,
Judge,
he
from the
seemed to
detective.
be in compliance with the electronic monitoring the whole time. And we know how disruptive it is to be on electronic monitoring for 2.5 years, not having movement, needing permission to go to the grocery store, to go to church. And you know, this mofo is in church like every day, I'm sure. I don't know what church it is because he never said. I don't know if it's real or one he made up or if it's some cult or something. But you know, he goes to church a lot. A lot.
And he's on bail, so he's got he's got the jail who runs the electronic monitoring program. He's got, private bail company with their bounty hunters. He is not a flight risk.
Bounty hunters.
The high level monitoring.
Get the Mandalorian.
Curfews that have strict rules about.
We don't have bail bondsmen. And next year,
So thrown off by these.
yeah. So in Illinois, we don't have bail bondsmen. You have to get your own money. And next year, there won't be any more cash bail.
As far as filing, obviously.
And we were searching for bail
We
bondsmen.
didn't know. The first year we did this, we had no clue.
Oh, Lord.
No idea. Listen, the more you know. You do learn these things. They don't teach you this shit in law school, y'all. They don't teach you a lot.
As an attorney. So I don't think that that's an issue of him.
Get ready, Robert, when he starts talking about the appeal that he wants.
So, because that would go through me, I will not.
Oh, he's
file
about to show his ass.
anything
Yet
that
again.
I can't imagine anything that would need to file, but certainly none of the sorts.
Okay, so Mr. Bateman has just said, Your Honor, I'm just putting you on notice. I am done. I'm not filing any shit. I'm not gonna be responsible for filing any shit. I ain't filing this. I ain't doing nothing for this motherfucker. I am done. Finito. That is it. Okay, you got it. I did what you said. He's been convicted and I'm done with this shit.
And you know what? I respect it because sometimes it's like, look, this case is over. Don't ever call me again. I don't ever want to speak to you or anybody related to you. Don't refer anybody to me. I don't want nothing to do with you.
Do not engage. And we got many clients like this that we are done with, but we know them all the way down to their cousins, their aunties, their uncles, their high school friends, their baby mamas, like everybody and their mama. We know all these people and we're done. Finished. Finito.
Things like along the lines of what was filed, the motions disqualified, any of those things.
Oh, I do want to point out that Mr. Bateman, okay, do I shade him? Yes, I do, because I want you to do better. Okay, Benjamin, I'm sorry. I appreciate that you were in a shitty spot and you had maybe one of the worst clients I've ever seen. And bitch, we've had some bad ones. We've had some bad ones too. But we're very good at controlling our clients. I don't know that you can control this man. I don't know that anybody could control this man short of like literally putting him in some kind of a restrainer and then literally putting a ball gag in his mouth and like one of those masks. We would basically have to dress him up like the Gimp from Pulp Fiction and just like tie him to a chair. That's the only way you could control him. And I'm not convinced that he wouldn't be able to like do some Morse code with his eyes or like just like, I'm not convinced that anybody could control him. Benjamin, I just want you to know, we deeply empathize with your plight.
For real.
I think you should enunciate more because I couldn't hear shit. I'm sure you said some stuff and made some valid points. A bitch couldn't hear them. That's okay. It's not on you. Except it's on you, sorry. But here what he is basically saying is, I want, for the record, I want everybody in this courtroom and I want the judge to know, I am not the person filing these crazy documents. And as an attorney, there are times when how many times did we file bond modifications for this one client? Six. We knew that there was no reason, and we knew that it wasn't going anywhere, but sometimes you got to do what your client wants, even though
that fifth one though, we got a bond.
We got the bond. Was it a fuck ton of money? Yeah, but you didn't have a bond before. I mean,
sometimes you got to make, and that's what I'm saying. Sometimes you make the argument. Sometimes you even adopt their wild ass filings because you're like, look,
that's all you got.
It's a Hail Mary, but let's try it out. Because,
right.
I mean, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do.
Right.
So I feel him. I'm like, look, I didn't file that.
Yeah, and I'm glad that he did that, because I think it's good practice to make sure that you get that on the record, that like, I, as an attorney who actually know my job, would never file some random stuff. Because what Kim Blandino likes to do is he does that thing that sovereign citizens do. And again, he's not per se a sovereign citizen. He's his own special genre, very niche, very, but like chef's kiss of whatever the fuck that is. I don't know what to call that. It's the Kim Blandino TM special. But he comes up with, like, I filed an affidavit of enlightenment. Like, he'll just scrawl some shit on a paper and throw some words in there and be like, I filed it and I deserved. And he'll go in and he'll demand, as if he were the judge setting a briefing schedule. He'll go in and he'll say, I need you to respond. Like, nobody ever responded to my affidavit of buffoonery. And and the judge will be like, I see you've got a motion for ass hattery, douchebaggery, buffoonery, and some bullshit. These are not properly before me and I don't have to respond. And then he'll lose his mind. So Bateman, yes, very much correct in saying, I am not a party to this bullshit. I would never file some of this shit. I will facilitate, because Blandino is persona non grata. He's not allowed to bother anybody, and he's literally bothered every single judge in the 8th Judicial District of Nevada. So he's been in front of hella judges. He's pissed them all off. Nobody wants him back. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, he's been told specifically, you're not allowed to go to the state's attorney's office. You're not allowed to go into the clerk's office unless you have a matter directly in the court. So, but let's see how Kim feels about this.
File that or anything like it. So I don't think that's a concern either.
I would note one thing regarding it being brought up that the detective testified there's nothing of concern found during the search warrant. The detective clearly didn't want to get into all the other things that have been found during the investigation, which could be unduly prejudicial. That includes the fact that Mr. Blandino, even after
they did try to get in some prior bad acts, but the judge said it was like the thing about abducting the kids didn't get in because it was more than 10 years ago.
Leah Williams.
Fair enough. I mean, that's over. And the judge was right. She ruled correctly there. It was totally not relevant.
Where later on, after his indictment, he sent her the letter that we discussed in the hearing.
And he has sent threatening letters to other
November
judges.
2019, indicating that she needed to recuse herself from.
They didn't even bring that in.
So it was before the justice court that he believed that she was the judge.
Yeah.
And that if she didn't recuse herself, he was going to be filing complaints against her with the Nevada Commission on Judicial Discipline.
But also he basically is a caretaker for his elderly mother who's infirm, and they rolled her in a wheelchair. So I mean, he actually is, I don't know if he's like her guardian or whatever, but he is a caretaker for her. So I don't find it wrong.
But at the time, he was not.
Yeah. Here it comes. The minute he stands up, you know, it's about to go down.
I can't speak to that civil matter. I'm not able to speak to that.
I don't not want, go, no.
Represented by counsel. So at this time, I'm going to allow him to stay at liberty pending sentencing. His monitoring will be raised to high level.
She raised it to high levels, though. I don't agree with that.
Conditions will remain the same. So you understand you're not permitted to have any contact with the victims in this matter.
Right.
And you're not permitted to send any letters of the kind that you, in this underlying matter.
Then
You
I continue to
understand that?
file complaints.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that? He literally just got convicted for extortion. He's like, but can I keep doing it though? So yeah, I know I just got convicted for this, but can I also do this again?
Well, here's my thing. File the fucking complaints. Stop telling people. Just file them.
Right, but he never does that. He
And
literally,
that's what I'm saying.
because that's
like,
literally what one of the, I do believe that in part of the rebuttal was like, he keeps demanding, asking, like, we got to have a sit down man to man. We got to talk about this. I got to get this apology. He always had the ability to make whatever complaints he wanted.
just
He
file them.
could file any complaint he wanted. He never had to get in front of somebody and start making all these crazy demands. But yet here he is again, basically saying, I have learned nothing. I do not believe that anything I did was wrong. I stand convicted of 2 crimes, 2 felonies, but yet I want to keep it up, man. I've got until July. How many more times can I do this exact same
And so
crime?
here's the thing. If you want to go and like commit the same crime over again, that's your business. But my thing is, bro, you just got accused of, you got tried for and convicted of these 2 crimes. Just file the fucking complaints.
I mean, that's the
Stop
thing.
trying to talk to people.
But it gets better though. It gets better though.
That's it.
It gets better though.
I would ask that anything that he's gonna file, any complaints or anything like that should go through his attorney.
I mean,
At this
fair
point in time,
enough.
We know that he's
That's a
Goes to the
using.
very good
attorney.
idea.
So I send them to him and then he clears it?
That's correct.
Okay.
Right, and then you won't have any issues, because if you have any issues pending sentencing, you will be remanded pending sentencing.
Okay, understood.
Fair enough.
Do you have any questions about what your conditions are?
Stay away from the, so I send them to him and then he clears it?
That's correct.
Okay.
Right, and then you won't have any issues, because if you have any issues pending sentencing, you will be remanded pending sentencing.
Okay.
As well, you need
understood.
to
Do you
be.
have any questions about what
Remanded.
your conditions are?
Stay away from Nordstrom, stay away from Federico. No filing commission on judicial discipline for complaints except for him. Now, I do.
No sending people
Okay, now,
letters.
one thing I do have, I tried to file, or serve Mr. Federico, and my son tried to. I gave it to legal wings this morning, because I.
Okay. He wants to sue the man he was just convicted of extorting and impersonating a public officer. He now believes that he, as a convict, as a guilty person, has grounds to make a civil suit against the guy he was just criminally convicted for. What do you think? He thinks he's got a civil, I honestly feel like he thinks he's got a 1983 case. I think he's got a 1983 case.
Oh, that's what you think? Like,
What else could he
I
have?
don't know what he's doing. Like, is he saying that, like, I don't know. I don't fucking know.
But he's like, how am I going to serve the man who I was just on trial for extorting with my civil complaint because he called me an asshole in court and he was mean to me?
What's the cause of action now?
He called me an asshole and he was mean to me. That's the cause of
Sure, but
action.
what's the cause of action?
What I'm saying is my religion requires me to go after people. I don't want to do this. It's my calling from God. God spoke to me, Robert. God spoke to me and said, Kimber, what you need to do is you need to go from courtroom to courtroom and you need to make sure that each and every one of these judges is doing what they're supposed to do because I don't have time. I'm God. I got other shit going on, okay? I sent my only son. Y'all did that shit to him and he's back up here now. So only person left to do what needs to be done is you, Kim Dennis Blandino. You are the only and the only competent person out here to make sure that these Nevada judges and every single one of them in the 8th Judicial District of Nevada is doing what needs to be done.
Okay,
We're going to continue because I have no clue what he thinks he's going to serve. He thinks he has a case. He's guilty. And this is what I don't think he understands is that literally everything that happened in this trial can be offered against him because we have his testimony on the record.
Right.
We have his conviction. I don't know who he thinks. I don't know if he thinks from jail he's going to be able to prosecute this claim in some way. I don't know how he thinks he's going to keep this case up or that he's going to pro se file a civil case I mean, he's got months though. Let's not like, he's got until July. This man will, if he hasn't already filed something today, I will eat everybody's lunch because let's just see what he says.
So a third party will be serving Federico at a federal civil rights suit. And as
Federal,
you know, we're supposed to try and negotiate or try to resolve it without going through the trial. So how do I handle that?
Have any contact with Mr. Federico?
Well, how do I handle that with the federal court?
Do not have any contact with Mr. Federico.
So if I had.
Okay,
So
and I
even-
just want to make sure, I don't care what litigation you have going on, you get an attorney, you get somebody
So if I
else.
get an
to have
attorney and
contact.
contact through the attorney, it's okay.
That would be fine.
yeah,
But
bitch,
you
that's how it
cannot have
works.
any direct contact. He clearly does not want to have any contact with you.
Well, yeah, but I'm allowed to file federal civil rights suit, and that's what it is.
I'm allowed to file a federal civil rights
So,
complaint
with
for
that, we would also request
random
that since
grievance.
leaving Mr. Blandino out of custody, we request an overall order that he not be at the RJC or the property of the RJC.
They don't want him anywhere near the
He
courthouse.
is a party for an actual court appearance during that time. We also wanted specifically that he not come to any of the offices of the Clark County District Attorney's Office. During the course of this case, it's come to my attention that Mr. Blandino has visited our reception at the Clark County District Attorney's Office, caused the women working there to feel very uncomfortable, started yelling at people in the lobby or harassing
That's
people in the
not
lobby
true. I
about
stop.
It's totally
wearing,
true.
wearing,
It
as he
happened.
calls them, diapers on their face
Guaranteed.
because they're wearing masks.
It
It's
happened.
something
Yeah, he
that
wouldn't even
is
yell at
a
them for
concern
wearing
to our
face
office,
masks during the
and our
pandemic.
investigators are aware, but he's not allowed at the district attorney's office as far as we're concerned, and I've told him that he's about that.
Do you understand that? You are not permitted to come to the RJC for
Right.
any reason unless you have a proceeding here.
He's
where
gonna
you
pick up
are the
another
party.
charge, watch
Now,
him.
does that
Do you
include if
understand
I have to go to the clerk's office because the computers are down to file something or that how I do that? I have to mail it.
Mail it, you got mine.
You're just trying to talk me out of letting you stay at
No,
home,
I just
aren't you?
wanted to, I wanted to.
I mean,
She's
I
literally
feel like
threatening
you're
to
trying
jail
talk
him
me out
until
of allowing
July.
me to stay at liberty.
Okay, no, I appreciate
I mean,
it.
I guess he could proselytize in there, help a
Just
lot of
to be fair,
people.
Go to jail.
With whom do I, if he has a complaint that sends.
Poor
to
Mr.
me,
Bateman.
with whom am I supposed to?
What am I supposed
Your Honor,
to do?
with Mr. Dickerson, I just want to.
No, you use your discretion.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
He was
I mean,
literally
you're
like,
an
what am I
attorney.
supposed to do with
Yeah,
these
okay, I
weird
just wanna
filings? Who
make
should I give them
sure
to?
That's what the.
Absolutely. So
the
the
criteria
matter.
Like,
was.
use your
That'll be
discretion. You're actually a lawyer. You know
You
what to
understand you're
do.
gonna be required to go to parole probation. You're gonna be required.
He's
to
agreed to be
participate
the
in an interview.
conduit.
I was
Do
never
not
reading
let that
shit like
report
that.
come
I don't
back
know that
to
the
me
judge
saying you
gave him any
refuse to
option.
participate.
Waiting for the PSI report,
That's correct.
but I go to the jail for the upgrade on the high level though.
That is correct.
So it's two separate things I'm doing. Parallel
That's
tests.
Ask Scott.
But again, I just wanna make
Ask
sure
Scott.
you understand you have to go to parole
He just has the
probation.
one though.
Report these for me?
It's always the same.
Oh, it
He
is.
always looks
My
the same.
suggestion is you go within the next 48 hours.
Oh, that's no problem.
It's
So that they can make sure they
He
get it
looks like he
done,
could make
the
a good
interview,
fried chicken.
and prepare the report and get it to the court on time.
With 12 herbs and spices.
You need to just report.
Fluffy skin.
I don't think you have to make an appointment. Okay?
So sentencing is going to be July 7th at 8:30 if we're still on pandemic.
So
schedule.
like, I understand that like, there are definitely some civil attorneys who have been watching this who don't actually practice criminal defense and they are like, why is it so late for sentencing? Sentencing doesn't always happen on the same day, right, Robert?
And there also needs to be a pre-sentence investigation.
What is a pre-sentence investigation for those people out there who don't know what that is?
Well, that's where the probation department, or what is it called? Social services for the court goes out, they look at your criminal record, your education record, just maybe your family life, your community impact, and then they file a report with the court. You get a copy, the state gets a copy, and then the judge uses that, to aggravate or mitigate, and like prepare for like their own thoughts for the sentencing hearing, and then the state will come in with aggravation, the defense might come in with mitigation, and you go from there.
So
But
in this
it's time.
instance, what possible mitigation could there be for Mr. Blandino, other than like, he is very active in whatever church this is. I'm not convinced that they don't like speak in tongues and like eat chickens' heads or something. No shade, if that's how you roll, you do you. But like, as far as like, and he takes care of his infirm mama, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. He hasn't had any violent outbursts. He hasn't done it. I mean, other than the time he stole his children that time.
I mean, as far as like mitigation, I think the mother thing is very, like, I think that should count a lot.
Right, because who's going to take care of her while he's incarcerated? I mean, she needs him.
And also, I think that if he takes this time between now and the sentencing, and he's not harassing these people, he's not bothering these people, he does what the judge said, I think that should count.
Right.
And that should help to like help her. I mean, she probably gonna send his ass to prison because he just like, he won't stop.
Right.
But if he stops, she probably don't want to send him to prison necessarily.
Right.
But if you don't stop, she probably gonna be like, look, bro, like, you going away.
He forced their hands because literally nobody wanted to do any of the things that they had to do. Nobody wanted, no judge really wants to hold somebody in contempt. I mean, maybe a few do, but you know, I think for the most part, most judges want to give, and you see it happening again. I mean, with white defendants, more likely they get time after. If this dude had been black, he would never have had 3 years, 4 years worth of chances and been brought back again and again and again. They would have figured out a way to get his ass. His ass would not be out on bail. He would have been cooling in pretrial detention this entire time. There is this here white privilege, whitest privilege that you have ever seen, because they would never, and mind you, I have seen lots of Black and brown sovereign citizens talk themselves into jail. And I have also seen the judges be more patient than they need to be and give them many, many chances.
I mean, I've seen it live in court.
Right. So I've seen that, but there's no way that the kind of, if a Black defendant had started screaming at the judge in the middle, snatched immediately, incarcerated immediately, they would have hit him up with another he would have been hit with 25 days just for that. Yes, exactly. So what we're seeing here with Kim Blandino, the fact that he has been enabled by the system and by all of these judges. Now, all the judges that I've seen in Nevada, they're all white judges. I don't know if a Black judge would put up with this. But I also feel like he would have targeted the Black judge immediately. He doesn't seem to care whether it's a woman or a man. So I appreciate that he's an equal opportunity harasser. I do appreciate that. We haven't seen what would happen if race became a factor here, which I'm kind of interested to see what would happen there, especially if he goes to a federal level and suddenly we got a brown judge. What's about to go down? But I mean, listen. I think
he should do himself a favor and pick another issue to harp on.
Right.
Because like,
go back to journalism.
You're not getting rid of these judges, and you literally are writing yourself into prison with your attack. I mean, your approach. Like, let it go.
Yeah.
Go.
I mean, in this, if he,
I mean, I guess you can appeal it or some shit.
He's going to. He's obviously, he already said he plans to appeal, and the defense attorney is just like, count my ass out. I ain't here for that. I mean, I'll help him file it, but I ain't putting my name on that shit.
Hell no.
I mean, he has a right to appeal, but I don't know. The problem is that you did not see his narrative testimony. It was so shambolic that I don't want to know what the poor court reporter was doing, because I would say 3/4 of what he said on the stand was stricken. Like, every single objection was sustained. But again, the other thing that I had about Mr. Dickerson, the prosecutor, because he was just like, objection. It's so annoying when they do that. It's just like, he could have just said objection, relevance, objection,
or even
asked and answered. Yeah. Because, you know, we get yelled at if we
no talking objection
in Cook County. I'll tell you what, yes, did I get yelled at several times by the judge? Did I get called back into chambers a couple? Okay, yeah. But listen, if a bitch doesn't get yelled at by a judge, I don't think you're doing your job thoroughly.
At least in criminal court.
In criminal court. Now, I try not to get yelled at in domestic, but it happens anyway. But judges love they love to yell at attorneys. Why not? I mean, I'm here for it. I'll take it. But with respect to him on the stand, I just don't know what record, because
the record is going to speak for itself, and
right.
Appellate judges are probably not going to agree with him. But you know what? Try it.
Right. I just don't know.
Find some judges who agree with you. You might find some MAGA judges. You might find some people.
I mean, it is
who
Nevada.
are just like, you know what, First Amendment absolutists, and somehow find a way to protect this. I don't know.
What circuit is Nevada in? Do you know? Is it in the Ninth Circuit, or is it one of those weird? Is in the Fifth Circuit? Because if it were,
like the Ninth Circuit covers like all of the West, doesn't it?
I thought it did. I feel like in the Ninth Circuit, I think he'd have a harder time, because I know the Fifth Circuit is where all the crazy stuff is happening.
Yeah, but the Ninth Circuit has some bizarre judges.
That's true.
And then, Trump appointed a ton.
He really
judges.
did, more than any other president
He
in many
appointed
years.
A ton of district judges.
I would just like to know, okay, so can you just give a quick explainer for the people, like what sort of things can you actually appeal? Like, what are the grounds for an appeal?
I mean, when you were mistreated by the judge, like the judge was biased against you.
Abuse discretion.
Abuse of discretion, but also like just didn't explain the law correctly, gave jury instructions that were incorrect. Like those are things, let in evidence that shouldn't have been let in, just general judicial incompetence that like deprived you of your rights. The prosecution withheld evidence that could have helped to prove that you were innocent. If you find out that like the jurors were coerced or some shit like that, like it's a lot of grounds. I mean, shit, you could just be like, it wasn't fair.
True. Like
this trial was not fair. It was too publicized. It wasn't, like the venue wasn't correct because everybody here knows who I am. Nobody can be impartial. Like he probably has grounds for an appeal, but
the problem is that
he might not win.
Well, he ain't gonna win for sure. I mean, he probably thinks he's gonna take this to the Supreme Court, but
de novo review.
Well, and that's de novo review right there. My thing is, I bet he thinks that appeal just means an opportunity to completely retry the case in toto. And that is absolutely, like, there are very few and far between times when you can get a de novo review. And that's just a fancy way of saying brand new trial, completely from scratch.
Yeah, the court is gonna like look at the evidence
again.
Not the record.
Yeah, because the thing is, on appeal, you can only look at what was in the record. If it's not in the record, it's outside the scope and they can't take it up. Now, here's the problem. This record is a hot cisgender mess. I don't know what's in it because so much of it was stricken. I don't know that he understands what's in it. And also, he admitted on the stand that he did that shit. He kept admitting it over and over. And here's the thing. There's no way he wins on judicial discretion because this judge was by far the most patient judge I've ever seen in my life. Did she yell at him a little bit? Yeah, but was he yelling at her? He was standing up, he was yelling, he was basically threatening to do the thing he just got convicted of. She multiple times throughout was like, he's like, can I just go up there and just say my story? And she's like, I don't think you should do that. This is not good for you. It is not. He's like, my Jesus tells me I got to speak the truth. I got to speak the truth no matter what. God tells me I got to go up there and I just got to tell my story. He refused initially to let Mr. Bateman do a direct examination. So basically, he just got up there and just started rambling and saying whatever, repeating himself over and over again, never answering the question, never saying what, because he was initially supposed to go on the stand to explain that he believed in his heart truly that his religion requires him. And again, he never says what his religion is. He says on the stand at one point, I was raised Catholic, but I came to understand later that that was not the right way. But he never tells us what the right way is. He never tells us specifically what the tenets of his religion are. He doesn't bring any scripture or doctrine or rules. He just vaguely asserts this reasoning and that God spoke to him and that this is something he absolutely has to do. Well, great, but guess what? He never actually said that shit.
The Church of Trump and Fox News.
Well, I mean, if like, Laura Ingram, Judge Shapiro, like,
those people are terrible.
Ben Shapiro. Like, listen, he just kept like literally judges like not relevant, objection, like it was literally like just back and forth, strike from the record, objection, sustained, stricken, sustained. So the record is going to look like freaking Jenga. Like, I have no idea what is even left on it, but I will tell you what is left on it. Him saying, yes, I did it. I went to his place. Of course I had to go because my religion requires me man to ask for and to give an opportunity to apologize. So he basically admits the whole thing again and again and again.
You know, I don't know, like these conservative and maybe some not conservative, but very religious judges, like, give you a wide berth if they think your religion is Christianity. And you can do pretty much any damn thing in the name of Jesus in this country. Folks, some judge will let you do it.
Yeah, that's a fact. That is absolutely true.
I mean, if some of them at the federal level, if it's some of them at the appellate levels at the state court, I mean, he might have something.
Yeah, because he's talking about taking this to a federal court without but the criminal appeal is still going to be in state court. So I don't think he's going to have a great result at state court because I'm pretty sure all these bitches know about Kim Blandino, right? So, and I'm not convinced that he hasn't also threatened some federal judges too. I mean, I don't know. Like, he honestly thinks it's his right to just go to every single courtroom, take these notes. Well, they said a swear. I don't say swear.
Here's the thing. Take the notes and file a complaint. Don't take the notes and then give somebody a way to avoid a complaint.
Yeah,
that
there, extortion textbook. Yeah. And literally when the first, I'm sorry, I don't remember her name, but when she was up there doing a really good job, I mean, she was laying it out very, very systematically. She said, she laid out the elements of extortion. She said, he did this, he did this, he did this. Textbook extortion. He's asking for a thing and he's saying, if I don't get the thing, you're going to have a bad consequence. And that's exactly what he did. And he said that. He's like, well, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have to make him pay, but he wouldn't apologize in person. He wouldn't do what I wanted him to do. And I'm like, that's literally extortion, bro. So I don't know if he thinks that literally all these, because listen, we know there are some really bad judges out there. There are judges out there who are actually sexually harassing people. We have judges out there that are literally colluding with the prosecution or making deals that are absolutely crazy or letting evidence come in that no way should have been admitted, that was completely prejudicial. This is the kind of stuff that, and even when you have the basis for, like, if you think about Brendan Dassey's case, the one that the Making a Murderer has been following for a long time, there's no way that kid should still be incarcerated. His confession was bullshit and everybody knows it. And yet multiple attorneys have tried to get him a new trial and to get that evidence thrown out, and the judges will not agree. So like that to me right there is the fact that this man here has taken this case as far as he had and wasted everybody's time over some bullshit when there are actual judges out here who really need to be removed from the bench. SCOTUS, like there are some people that need to be impeached on SCOTUS for what's going on. Oh, Thomas.
I mean, you know me, abolish the whole motherfucking court.
Listen,
but that's just how
that's another day, another court.
But I think that, I mean, here's the thing, and maybe it's just because I'm a criminal defense attorney. I think this whole thing, like the prosecution, it seems bizarre to me that like he was prosecuted for a felony for asking people to apologize or I'm going to report you. It's not okay. I'm not saying it's okay to do that, but like really, like y'all prosecuted this.
Yeah, and honestly,
and, so and it's clear that what they wanted to do was to stop him from bothering.
Right, and it's not going to work.
Right there is, I get it, and that's not. As a person, I'm not really questioning that, but as a criminal defense attorney, I'm just like,
is this really the best use? I mean, think about all the sex assaults, the domestic violence, the armed robberies, gun charges, all these things that people are so worried about that
this is what they do.
And this is what they do. They literally waste an entire week. Think about these poor people, these poor jurors who had to miss a week of work so they could get paid $15 a day for some bullshit like this. And he's been wasting resources 4 years. This goes back years, pre-pandemic, man.
Yeah.
Even farther back than that. He's been doing this stuff for years. So I understand the impetus to prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law, but I do feel like their evidence was pretty, it's like, to me, the letter seemed kind of, he never says, I'm going to hurt you. He never says, if you don't do this, it's going to go badly for you. He just says, well, I'm just going to send a complaint, which he ended up sending anyway.
And my thing is, I don't necessarily, I get it. I just don't, I couldn't be this prosecutor. Like, I would beg my boss, if I would ever be in that job, I'll beg my boss to not make me do this. Like, send a new person or something like that, but please don't make me do this.
Fresh out of law school.
Like, I just don't. And this is like on the internet, this is like here for everybody to see for forever.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I mean, and I'm sure there's people cheering for the prosecutor and stuff like that, but I just think this is like very bizarre. I think everything about this whole situation that I've seen, and I've only seen like an hour of it, is very bizarre. And everybody, he's talking about being concerned about wasting resources, but then he goes and wastes a bunch of damn resources, like having this trial. Like, I hate it.
Yeah. I mean, this tells you, see, to me, this is sort of like a Jussie Smollett thing, right? It's like where they're spending millions, well, in his case, they spent millions of dollars, but here, I mean, think about all of the staff.
Yeah.
You got an entire courtroom. The court reporters, those hoes charge like $1,500 for a transcript. And we know this because we tried to get one, and that's how much it costs for one day. And I really want to read how well I did that day.
I know.
So desperately. So you've got that money. You've got, they had like 3 sheriffs in there just because they're afraid. Like they're there the whole time. You got all the staff. You got all the prosecution. This is hundreds of thousands of dollars probably for all the years, for all the time. And just think of all the lost work, the childcare people got to spend, like the classes they missed, all of that, so that you can prove a point to a man who on the stand admitted he has learned nothing. He does not think he did anything wrong. He wants to keep doing it. You have failed.
And he will probably take that time, he will eat that time, and then he's gonna go back to doing the same bullshit
again
because he has a point to prove.
Yes, and now he has a fan base. He's got people out here who are probably going to get a GoFundMe page for him to help him get out, to get him paroled, to get him transitional housing. Yeah, he's the martyr. He did this for God. And it's crazy. This is why we are on the defense, because I do not believe that the district attorney's office and the state's attorney's offices are focused on the correct things. This is not about rehabilitation. This is not about deterrence, because this motherfucker undeterred.
Yeah, and he is definitely just punitive.
He's undaunted.
And I don't know. I mean, I'm not a punitive person just in general. Like, I think that like when we do these cases and stuff like that, I think it should be about like, okay, is this person gonna learn to not do this? If so, fine. And I mean, and I guess in some places, you know, we do feel like some people shouldn't be part of society. But I think that we need to think about that a lot more. And I don't know what's gonna happen here. I feel like this man gonna violate this shit from jail.
Immediately.
Like, I feel like from jail/prison, whatever, he's going to violate this. And fine, bring him up, keep him in there longer, I guess. But like, I really don't know that. I don't know. I don't feel like anybody's served by any of this.
No.
Letting him off isn't good. Letting him rot in prison isn't good, because I don't think it's going to accomplish what people want, unless the goal is just to punish people. And for some people, that's the goal.
Yeah.
And if that's your goal, fine. It makes no sense to me.
And to be fair, like by the time this guy gets out of jail, these state's attorneys, DAs, whatever they are going to be in another role somewhere else.
Yeah.
They won't be in the same courtroom.
Yeah.
So it's not their problem anymore. So this is just outsourcing and using the carceral state to get a break from something that's annoying, instead of looking at, why do we have a system that allows somebody like this to continue? And I mean, this is the problem with sovereign citizens too. They do, if they're in front of properly in front of the court, yes, they have a right to have their rights respected. But at what point do we is the process itself lending itself to this bullshit and giving them these loopholes and giving them these paths to waste time and to get in front of the judges' faces, to turn. But also the fact of the matter is that the way that these guys get into jail, get into the system in the first place is usually by a traffic infraction or some minor infraction. But the fact that it's so criminalized, and we actually have, the problem comes with, it's the cops. The cops are the ones that are like criminalizing traffic and making traffic a big problem, so that you get all these sovereign citizens coming in here with these wild, crazy defenses and wasting everybody's day and ruining their lunch.
And I guess, like, I don't know, like, I see so many of these bizarre traffic violations that are violations, and I'm just like, but also people gotta shut up.
And that's the
Like,
thing.
stop talking to the cops. Like, don't lie to them. Please don't lie to them. But just don't talk to them. Like, stop talking yourself from a traffic ticket into a misdemeanor or a felony. Like, just.
These guys are talking like a $25 traffic ticket into criminal contempt. They're going from just like a basic ticket to now having a criminal record because they're wasting judicial resources and they're threatening judges and screaming at judges.
Yeah.
I saw.
And here's my thing. I don't think you should just accept tickets. You know, I don't.
Oh, hell no.
Contest everything. But I don't know. And I understand some of these like sovereign citizens, like I totally understand, like Black sovereign citizens make a lot of sense to me intellectually, even though I don't understand the gobbledygook they speak, but the idea is like, why would you want to legitimize these systems that were set up to destroy you? Like, I get that. And I mean, it's not like the system was set up to really benefit anybody truly, except for like rich ass white men. But other white people benefit too. And so, and if you're a Christian, you definitely benefit. But like, why? Like, why? Like, why are we doing this? And I understand not wanting to respect it and not wanting it to have control over you. I get it. You don't want to legitimize it. It makes sense to me. Like, that's one of the reasons that it was a struggle for me to become an attorney, because I don't like being part of the system, but also like, you got to do something to try to make a difference. But it's just like, Lord, please stop talking yourself into prison time.
I know, right? I mean, it's so conflicted. So this is the first time that we've actually, I don't know if there's any more here.
That will be at 12 p.m. and Marshall, here's paperwork to be placed on payroll.
I feel like he's gonna say one more stupid thing. I really wish I had the video of him pouring water on himself.
July 7th.
July 7th at 8:30.
Yeah, so they're just setting the time. So that was the Kim Blandino verdict. After hearing me kind of rant about this probably for the last few months, I'm sure I've mentioned it before, like, did it meet your expectations?
This was actually really fun to like watch. It was wild. And it's interesting because like, we're very rarely the spectators. Like, I'm usually like in court doing what I gotta do and then I'm out. Like, so to like spectate was kind of interesting. It was kind of fun. I can't wait to do this again. I'm looking forward to doing it with some like fictional lawyers and shit like that.
Oh yes, definitely. In the future, our plan is to do some reaction videos to the incredibly ridiculously bad lawyering that we see in that Anna Delvey Netflix show, which has some of the worst fictional lawyering I've ever seen. We might check out a little bit of some Marvel, because I gotta tell you, Daredevil is by far, he might be great at parkour, but he is terrible at the rules of evidence because he ain't never went to that class at all. He was too busy doing parkour. So we got a lot more. I want to thank my partner and fellow chef.
Hey.
and I have been Chef Kimberly Russell Esquire.
And I am always Chef Rob.
All right, thank you. And we hope to see you again soon.